Welcome to part 2 of how to arrange marching percussion for band directors. Today I'm going to take this stock part and modify it using some of the concepts I talked about in the last video. So make sure you have that drumline cliche page and let's jump in. Alright, so let's take a look at this stock part here. This is Fanfare for the Third Planet by Richard L. Saucedo. Now this is from a show that I taught many moons ago, but I did not rewrite this part when I was teaching there, so I'm going to do it now. So all that to say, this is a piece I'm familiar with, but I've never rewritten these stock parts. So I'm going to write from measure 1 to sub at 35. So the first thing I need to do is get 35 measures, and then I'll go back and put in all the rehearsal markings and all the text, just like I talked about earlier. So right now I have 5 measures, so I'm going to say add multiple, 30. Now when I'm writing for front ensemble, this is also the time that I'll go and make sure that all the key signatures are right, but since this is just battery, I don't have to worry about that. So measures 3 and 11 are the first rehearsal marks. So Control R is going to give you a rehearsal mark, but I don't want a letter. I want the measure number in this case. So we'll go to the drop-down scroll for rehearsal marks and put bar. All right, so I know 3 is a rehearsal mark. I know 11 is a rehearsal mark. Or 7. That's 11. Control R. And I don't want to assume it's going to be 8 measure phrases, so I'm going to go and make sure that I know where they are. 1. And then 35 was also 1, but I don't write anything there. So, cool. Let me get the rest of the text now, and I'll go and fast forward through this, but this is just going to be metronome markings, any like performance text that they need to know. I really try to keep any like specific like tempo text. In this case it says joyously. I want to keep that in there so that the band director doesn't yell at me. So let's see. Have snare drum entrance with bass drums right before measure 3. So, okay. And since I'm not writing the front ensemble parts, in this case, I'm going to assume that these front ensemble parts are awesome and perfect, and I'm going to write to them, even though I know better. I know that some of these parts aren't going to be so great, but I'm going to, for instance, in the first 2 measures, the xylophone has a solo. It's backed up with the bass drums. I think I want a little bit more support than that, so I'm going to double the bass drums with snare drum here also. Actually, I'll keep it how it is, but I'm going to keep all the bass drum notes on one rhythm. It'll be easier to learn and a little more consistent. And then I'll use that second measure to put a split in. So let's try that. And I'm just, like I talked about, I'm trying to write the simplest thing I can and just get through this. So like I said, I'll give that to the top bass. I'm going to write this for 4 bass drums. Normally the top bass it'll be on treble clef E. So let's do that. Bass drum writing, like voice leading wise, it always leads really well from one drum to another, but you can have big skips. You can go from the top to the bottom, but generally linear stuff really works well. So I'm going to restart this at the top so I can do that. Down this. And then we get to those non-negotiables I was mentioning earlier. So if you look here, the whole band, except for the flutes, has the same rhythm. Da 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 da. All right. And then these long notes while the flutes do some stuff, the clarinets do some fiddling up there, and then the same theme again. So whatever I write here, I can probably copy and paste here. Okay, let's see if we do it again. Nope, now we have this da-da-da. For the most part, I'm trying to line stuff up with the low brass. There's exceptions to that. Back in the day, they used to say match the snares with trumpets and the tenors with the saxophones and the bass drums with the bass voices. And that's still kind of sort of true, but we're still we've progressed a long way as percussion writers, so you could start there, but in general, the low brass is where the drum line is. But there's those exceptions where you want something a little different, and that'll be up to you. So I have that big da 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 da, and then these big long notes. And if the whole band had a long note, by the way, that would be an awesome time for what I call playground. So the idea is the slower moving the wind parts are, the more you can write for the percussion to kind of keep the drive of whatever you're doing. And then you would also think about that the other way around too. Okay. So da 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 da. What's written is 1 and 2 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1. Okay, and you could totally just play this rhythm. In fact, if you wanted to beef something up without rewriting anything, dropping diddles onto the 16th notes is not a bad way to go. So that would turn this into right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right. So you can take basic rhythms and just put fun stickings over them and get a lot of cool stuff. Or you could go right, left, right, right, and put a rim shot on that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to have the first measure double stops, both, and then I'll mix and match some stickings on that second measure. But I'm going to keep the same rhythm so the whole band has ta 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 ta. And maybe I'll do something funky with the quads there. And then since I have this bass run, I think just eighth notes would be a good setup with other instruments. Might want that support. Okay, so I will keep going into this. I will keep this rhythm. Come on. And again, going in a linear way, especially doubles, really works well on quads. It's very easy to go da 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 da. So I will do that. I'm just going to write the rhythm all on one drum, then I'll figure out the around part of it, the orchestration part of it, in a minute. So I'll check back with you then. By the way, stem should face up always with battery parts, in my opinion. That way you can write the stickings underneath. This is my method of doing the double stops. For obvious reasons, dealing with high school kids, you don't want both of those notes on the same line or people will giggle, right? So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'll do one more double stop there, then nice big fat rim shot. In Sibelius, that is, let's see, control 19? Yeah, control 19, and then rim shots should have marcato symbols over them. And then that will be right, left, right. And, in this case, I'm going to keep the stock rhythm because I don't hate it. These tap rolls, again, are kind of invaluable as a tool, so I'm going to turn these into tools. And in this case, I'm writing out the 16ths, but you could also do eighth notes that are dashed, of course. Keep that. Do they do that for measure 6 as well? Yeah. I'll keep it for now. And I might go back and kind of beep that up. But then I believe I can make that a 4-bar phrase. Not quite. Okay, so here's where we have bump ba. Now, the original percussion arranger kind of backed away from these rolls, but I'm going to do the tap roll build up here. I think it's just begging for it. Let's see how that works out. By the way, here's this da 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 is what I refer to as the drum feature ender. It's really great after laying down a ton of notes. Everybody loves that. So I'm going to write da-da. Yes, that will work. And then at 11, I think we're out for a little bit. Yep. By the way, I'm writing mostly the snare part right now. I tend to do that. Because it's the lead voice, right? So, except for like in this case where I knew bass drums had to start it, if I can figure out the snare drum part, that is the lead voice that I can kind of base other things around. So now I'll go back and fill some of this out. Drum 4 is your big power drum. Drum 1 is a good contrast to that. So for now, I think I'll just put this up. Okay. Keep those there. match that rim shot. And try not to write too many rim shots. It's easy, easy to get carried away. We're all guilty of it. And then in Sibelius, if you just press Alt-Click, you don't even have to press copy-paste. Just a little copy-paste shortcut there. You don't even have to do Control-V or nothing. Right? And then I'm going to add a little release note here for the quads because that's something I'm kind of guilty about. Sometimes I'll write the measure, for instance, these two measures, and I'm like, okay, great. And then I forget that they need to release. So don't forget that. Unless, there's sometimes where they don't release. I'm going to get the quads back in here with some eighth notes. Again, just write down the drums in this case, which is basic but effective. And we're not trying to be the Blue Coats right now. We're just trying to get some good music. Then I can, again, copy-paste these with that Alt-Click idea. Put in crescendo, even though I don't know the exact dynamics. And then I definitely want to double this dum up because the whole band has it. And again, drum 4 is your big impact drum, so any big moment, you're probably going to want it on drum 4. And like I said, little eighth note build-up, tap roll build-up, which is in the drumline cliche page. So not only am I layering in sections, but I'm also waiting until the last bit to put this tap roll around the quads. You see here it's all on one drum, and then I start moving drums. That's a good way to sneak in. All right, and then bass drum, copy, and it'll paste twice. That's okay. Like that. And then again, giving everybody a nice little release note. And don't at me in the comments. I know that I said to go through and do the dynamics, and I'm not doing that, but mind your business. Okay, so then we get to the mallets doing dum 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 dum. If you look, nobody else in the band is doing that. What's happening in the band is they're kind of passing around this do da da dee da, just these little da da dee das coming from different sections while some long notes happen. So this is a new thing, and I'm wondering if I want to reinforce that, even though the original percussion arranger did not do anything except bass drum there. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pull the plug. I'm gonna put double beat here. So let's see how that works. And I'll just go right from my drumline cliche book or file. Just copy paste this. All right, so what is Double Beat 2004? It is an exercise by Mr. Murray Gusek, and you can use it for almost anything. It's kind of awesome. It's a really malleable little groove. So again, I want to give that release. Okay, I think that's crazy enough to work. So I'm going to modify this just a little bit. Yep, that's what I want. Another idea I had was to just have some buzz rolls over this, so the snare's buzzing for a measure, then the quad's buzzing for a measure. I think what I'm going to do here is just have the basses buzzing. Now, when you're writing rolls, you want to keep track of the tempo because that will tell you what kind of bass you should have underneath your roll. So you can look at this Mitchell Peters chart from his beginning book to see what I'm talking about. Basically, the faster you go, the less notes you have in between. So 16th notes would be appropriate, maybe under 120 beats a minute. And above that, you're going to want to start thinking about using triplets. You know what? I'm actually going to go with a bass line. I'm going to go with boom, doop, 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 boom, doop, 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 doop. That will be great. So again, thinking linearly is a good idea for a younger bass line. Otherwise, it is a little corny, but you can use it. Like I said, it's effective. So I'm always going to come back to bass 4 playing beat 1. That should stabilize the band a little bit. Boom. Boom. All right. I'm going to copy paste that and hope for the best. Actually, because of this little +1 I did, now I'll have to modify that. But no worries. Easy. And don't worry, I will go through and add the stickings last. Or almost last. So I'm going to look at the score and see how many times I can get away with using this. Let's see. Okay, and I'll do another tap roll build up here. I'm gonna use the same exact idea. By here I mean measure 7 and 8 of this 8 measure phrase. 10, use the same thing shamelessly. You're allowed to repeat yourself. You know, I know the older I get, the more I rewrite the same thing and feel less bad about it. I wouldn't normally do this tap roll build this soon after doing it the first time, but I'm just trying to give some examples here. In fact, you know, just for fun, let's reverse it from how it normally is. I'm going to give this to the bass drums and start bass, quad, snare in that order. Right, let's see. I'm going to use that top bass like the snare drums were being used before. And then, sounds good to me. Do a crescendo here, I believe. Yep, a crescendo, and then we'll drop all the way down to piano. So the band, the low brass has this boom, 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 boom. So I'm going to lean into that bass line with some sort of ostinato. Here's a little stick shot lick that is kind of derivative of some things I've seen many times. So I'm going to copy and paste and then play with it and adjust it for what I need. So like I said, they have bump, 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 but dum. So I'll do 2 quarter notes. Bump, bump. Put that on beat 4. Now that is a stick shot. I don't know if you can tell there's a line through the note head, which for me is a stick shot, which is left stick digging into the head and right stick on it. It just gives a little cool little texture. So I'll make that a quarter note. Again, the concept with this lick is just that you go from a right hand stick shot to a buzz. Guts is gut. And you can use it a lot of different ways. So here's what I'm doing. So yes, that's what I want. You can put Control P for a shortcut for piano after putting Control E for expression. Again, I'll just repeat that till the cows come home. So then 27 through 31, I want to add in another layer, this dat, digga, dat, digga, dat, digga, dat. I want to keep that, but I want to maybe have it on the bass drum or the quads. And that's what they have here. Dat, digga, dat, digga, dat, digga, dat, digga, dat. I just went a little different route with it, but I want it back in at 27. So we have this 8 measure phrase of the same groove. And then I'll come back in with for 4 measures, do a crescendo into some space. I'll use that space. It's the same theme as measure 1, it's just with just flutes there and front ensemble. And then, yeah, 4 more measures, and that's all I got. Okay, so keep that. 4 measures. And again, I don't know exactly what kind of fill I want to write here, but I do want big impact. So probably drum 4 at that point. And then I think I saw some and a 4 and a 1s here. I guess I could keep. I'll turn them into paradiddle diddles. And then I'd like to take the same idea and give it to maybe just the quads the next time. Nope, I'll give it to just the quads this time. And then I'll have the full drum line the next time. This is a fun one to do. Take the same rhythm and have one section play it, and then another, and then all of them. Or, any combination of that. Yeah, why not? Alright, so like I said, I'm going to take this da digga digga da, give it just to the quads first, and then everybody will play it. Oh, come on. You suck. And arbitrarily, I'm going to turn the bass drum part into 3 and 4 and a 1 instead of 3 and a 4 and a 1. Just totally arbitrarily, just want to clear out that clutter just a little bit. Okay, then give everybody plus. Actually, I'll give it to quads. So again, this is going to evoke the same feeling that the stock bar has with this dot digga dot digga dot, but I'm reorchestrating it so I can get different colors instead of it always being a snare drum. Oh, good lord, what have I done? copy and pasted 8 measures, didn't I? See these mistakes you make? Tiny little mistakes. Silly, silly, silly. Okay. Round 2. Fight. Okay, keep that. I'm going to do some sort of fill there. All right, I'm going to go through now and just make sure I have all the bass drum parts I want. All accented. You know what? I'll add 1 and 2 into this, just so I have just a nice simple walk down the bass. Copy these. All right, I think I'm going to follow the exact melody, the boom, 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 that the wall brass is doing there. Let's see. Double check they are. Yeah. And I want to match the shape they're making. So I want to see just how many notes I'll need to trick the audience into hearing this wind part, even though we don't have the exact same note. So, okay, cool. So it's just toggling between 2 notes. 1 lower, 1 higher. So the easiest thing for me to do is going to be to start it on bass drum 1 and switch between bass drum 1 and 2. So bass drum 1, bass drum 2. Camera 1, camera 2. Now something I do want to correct here before I move on. This bass drum fill here landed on bass 1 because that's where the melody starts, that bump bump that I'm trying to do. But I'm going to keep it on drum 4 just for slightly better voice leading. That way the last bass player gets to go digga-da, and then we start bum 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 bum. Make sure that has dynamic. I haven't talked about cymbals yet on purpose, by the way. I might not get into that in this video. But the gist is the crash cymbal part is one of the few things that the stock part is usually actually helpful for. Those are usually the crashes in the stock are good to go. You just want to add some other textures. And there's truthfully, I'm still learning a lot about writing for cymbals myself. I'm learning about playing cymbals. Right? Let me go back and snag some of the dynamics, and then I'll do the stickings. Then I'll have just about 35 measures of music that works. Forte, measure 2, mezzo forte. Measure 6 will drop down to piano. Crescendo up, forte. Let's do this forte and just alt click it. There we go. And measure 9, 10, 11 was the scoop. By the way, normally I've saved 800 times by now, but in this case, since this isn't for a client or anything, I haven't, but save your work often, unless you want to cry. I know this is confusing, but that is what's in the score. They're going to crescendo beyond pianissimo, obviously. They're going to crescendo to probably mezzo forte or above, and then drop down. That's a little ambiguous, but that is what's in the score, so I'm going to leave it. Okay. Measure before 19, snare does get up to forte. I'll make it a forte piano. This is a little liberty I'm going to take just to match the score without matching the score, if that makes sense. Piano. In the score, the snares aren't playing after that forte note, but they would be playing piano, so that is my... Actually, I'll do that little mezzo forte action. Yep, and then I wanted a little fill here. Let's see, in the band at measure 30. Okay, got a cymbal swell. So I think I'll just kick around this. Da digga doo da digga doo da. Let's see. There's a million different stickings you can do with this, and a million different quad orchestrations, but for now, we're just going to do this. I want to make this a double stop just because we just came off of quarter notes. So they'll have the time to do the double stop, and that'll make the last note a little bigger. All right, now I'll swing back and just drop in all the stickings, and I will have some music. There is more than one way to input stickings on Sibelius, by the way. You can do Control L, which is lyrics. I personally don't like the look of that, so I have been using that. I wish there was a shortcut for percussion stickings. I think you can make your own shortcuts, but I haven't done that. So I'm basically making, in this section, all the 16ths doubles. That's that tap roll thing I was mentioning. By the way, I use all caps on sticking. I used to do capitals only on accents, but now I do all caps. I think it looks cleaner. But that's kind of a personal choice. Okay. Sometimes I will just write etc. after writing in all these, but for now I'm going to actually just write them in. So let's see. So in the heat of the moment, I'm going to tweak this just a little bit. I'm going to take out that buzz and make the next one a double stop. Okay. So I'm going to think about how the quads are going to need to do this. I need the right hands on this. So I'm going to go right, left, right. So I will do the same thing here, which is not a conventional sticking, but it's the sticking I need to make this work. Snare done. Let's go back, snag quad parts. And I will typically do bass parts on units and stuff. If they're just running down the drums, you're going to assume that that is right, left. But I'll write as many of the bass stickings as I think I should, so there's no questions. And I didn't want these to be accents. I don't know why I didn't accent this. And I'll pop up here just because that will set the quad player up for the little groove he's about to play, where he has to be drum 1 and drum 2 on the rims there. By the way, X's are rims, unless they're rim shots, which are not the same. Rim shot goes gack, rim goes tick. So right here, I'm having the quads go all right hand. They could alternate, or you could go all right hand and spice this up a little bit. Just off the top of my head, I bet moving the bass drum part into the quad part while they do this right hand thing would be cool. So this is a case where I will just write etc. because I think they can figure it out. And again, kind of arbitrarily, just to spice things up, I'm making this rhythm, instead of a tap roll, I'm just making it paradiddle diddles, which is really another cliche thing. Any kind of paradiddle is going to get used a lot. So cool. All right, quads all accounted for. Let's do some bass stickings. And like I said, I only do enough bass stickings so that there's no confusion, especially anytime they're playing like the ands or whatever. Even though on snare drum, I want to make this kind of rhythm usually doubles, but not always. With bass drum, I'm going to single stroke more things just because it's hard to do doubles on a bass drum and they don't speak as clearly. But you can. You can do that. So I want every drummer to start with their right hand, which is why you see more than one right in a row here. Any note that's on a number beat, 1, 2, 3, or 4, it will be the right hand for what's coming up. Any and will be the left hand. Similar thing, any e or is going to be left hand. Any one or and will be your right hand. Which contradicts what I said earlier, but if you have 16th notes, you'll change those rules up usually. It's really the same rule, just one is twice as fast. Here I'll write etc. By the way, I will usually write like this in Panorama. I don't know why I haven't been, but Panorama is nice. And then you kind of fix the engraving stuff later. And again, just going alternating sticking whenever possible on the bass drum. Now, if you're playing 4s, you can do those double strokes. It just speaks better when you alternate. Just like on timpani. For every percussion instrument, you get more articulation when you alternate. It's just worse on timpani. Right, and this will be all right hand, so I will just type that. So tick. Oh, get it one day. There we go. Okay, cool. 31, I'm sure, is forte. All right, and there you have it. So that's how I've turned these 34 measures of da digga da digga da digga da into something hopefully a little groovier, a little more musical, and a little more fun. And it took time, but honestly, I really believe with the right cliches in your back pocket and kind of looking at the score and listening to what it's telling you to write. Oh, I didn't write that sticking in, whatever. And then writing all the stickings, unlike me, and paying attention, even if you're not a percussionist, I think you could probably turn out a pretty decent little composition if you keep trying.